G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, welcome to the Aussie Gridiron Network. This is G'day Gridiron and we are back with another division breakdown. But before we do any of that, boys, how good is sports? There is sports everywhere at the moment. How good is sports?
It depends. If you're a bettor and you're doing well, it's great. If you're a bettor and you're sucking it up, then no, it's not good. But you're right. How's that for Captain Obvious? It's
Just to start off with.
Yeah.
Well done, Brad.
If you're betting and you're making money, you're doing good.
Well, March Madness is on at the moment, and it's been phenomenal watching just these upsets in the American college game in basketball. It's been really cool. I know Nick would have been into a little bit of that.
I haven't actually kept up with a lot of it this year.
What?
Really?
Oh no! I
haven't.
I'd say I made my family watch the Duke Carolina ending. I watched it last night and had them come in the room and watch it, and said, "This is why sports is great. This right here, this game."
That's exactly what I'm getting at, Brad. The fact that UConn beat Duke when Duke just thought that they were going to go in there and destroy UConn, and then the Huskies it was like. This is why. This is sports. This is why it's good.
Yes, exactly. And you know, my wife, who is not a huge sports fan, she'll watch playoff basketball, but even she was like, you know, totally got into it and stuff. And so, yeah, no, it is absolutely. You're right. This is a great time of year.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's the start of football season in Australia. All the egg ball games have kicked off, so that's all going on. A-League
the UFL. The
UFL.
Did you guys see? I actually was watching live when they kicked their first 4-point field goal. So that was pretty impressive. I saw the very first 4-point field goal ever. But yeah, that shows you what it. That I would not be that surprised, really. I think they'd push it back and maybe make it like a 70-yarder or something. But yeah, it was wild.
I saw a vision of the UFL team marching through what looked like essentially a Wendy's after the game and getting into it with just the common man sitting there drinking beer.
Well, it must be down in the south.
It was it was just the weirdest thing. Yeah, it was Kentucky. It was in Kentucky.
Yeah, okay. And Kentucky's its own breed.
So they essentially walk through like the bar area, and they've got these plastic screens up where, you know, like guys are seated at tables drinking, and then the players are walking to their locker room. It looked like they're just literally walking through a restaurant. It's so weird. And yeah, there's all these booze and they're carrying on, and then it was like someone said something, so one guy slapped a drink at somebody, and another player got wet, so he thought someone else, like one of the crowd, had thrown something, and so he's blowing up, and then they're throwing drinks back at him, and security's trying to keep them away from each other because these athletes are about to destroy some 60-year-old men in little hats.
Yeah, some drunk idiot threw his beer on a 21-year-old guy who's just trying to make a living. Not a smart move.
What is it? That was Justin Ross, who used to be with the Chiefs, actually. I just looked it up. I couldn't remember who it was. So the watch him against the Louisville Kings. He plays for the Birmingham Stallions. So what great names they have in the UFL too.
That's from the old USFL. Like when I was a kid, so we're talking the early 80s, they had the Birmingham Stallions in the USFL.
Yeah, so there's sports everywhere. How good is sports? Anyway, how good? I'm trying to pad time because we're going to do a breakdown of a division. And we've got 2 divisions left to do, and tonight, or in this episode, we're going to do the AFC South, and then to cap off our division breakdowns will be the AFC East. But tonight, till right now, we are going to do the AFC South, and I don't know. Just trying to draw it out, boys.
Oh, there's nothing to draw out. This is one of the most exciting divisions in football. What are you talking about? Who doesn't love some Indianapolis Colt talk?
Well,
that with the straight face blood.
It was with an absolute straight face, wasn't it?
I've been to Indianapolis. I walked around like where they do the combine and in those hotels and stuff. And it's a fascinating city. It's really cool. It's really walkable. Lots of great food, bars around there and stuff. So it's Indianapolis, I think, is a very underrated town in my opinion.
I'm sure the town is good, Brad. The team has been not so good. Anyway, let's not start there. Let's start where we always start, which is at the bottom. Let's start with the team with the newest logo and the stealing of a color change. The Tennessee Houston Oilers Titans. If Brad doesn't know what I'm talking about, they changed their logo, Brad, and they're now using the pale blue and red as their color scheme. Basically,
what?
The Oilers.
They can't do that.
Do I need to find this up for Brad?
No, that's a travesty.
Brad's been out of the... I was just looking at the look on Brad's face. He had no idea what we were talking about.
I had no idea what you're talking about. They can't use those. No, that belongs to the Oilers. Over my dead body.
See you, Brad.
Let me just find you the new logo, Brad.
Let me entertain you.
You always entertain
find
me.
The
Brad.
logo. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, well, that surprised me. Like, because I thought that for sure just belonged to Houston. But that doesn't make sense because Houston's got the Texans now and everything. So I guess
it's a shit quality. It's a shit quality pick, Brad. But
yeah, that's all right. Okay, so
I don't mind it actually.
I like the logo change. I kind of like the uniform change and the color change. It's not so bad.
I don't like it. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
It just reminds me of the old Oilers, which they stank. So.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, yeah, they haven't been good since Warren Moon was
that no longer exists anymore.
Yeah.
I think they actually have the rights to it, don't they?
Yeah, they would. Yeah, because like I said, because Houston got the Texans, so yeah, it's obviously a nod to the past.
There you go, Brad.
Oh, that's foul. That is just foul looking. I didn't like him back then, and I don't like him now. That's putrid. I mean, it's just, what's the 3 stars for? That's got to have some significance. It's just, what, you're just trying to copy the Cowboys?
One for every win they got in 2025.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Brad, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick us off with the Tennessee Titans, then, Brad? Let's.
Oh yes. Tell me about
the 3-14 Tennessee Titans.
Well, what do you want to know? The Titans were flat out awful in 2025, and their numbers didn't really sugarcoat it. 3-14, 30th in points scored, 30th in passing yards, 30th in rushing yards. Are you guys getting the trend here? And 28th in points allowed.
Oh, so that's better than everything else,
yeah. Brad. Yeah, exactly. So the Titans basically, they're not selling a tweak. They're selling a new era. And you've got Robert Saleh, which I think is a great addition personally, coming in as head coach. Brian Dable is going to be your OC. Gus Bradley is going to be your DC. You're still optimistic about Cam Ward and what he potentially could do. So they're trying to put talent around him. They're basically kind of trying to say, okay, if you look at the players they brought in, they're trying to be fast, disciplined, physical. That's what Dable is talking about, at least. So it'll be interesting to see the development that they can do around Cam Ward and what they're going to do there. So a lot of picks, and I'd be curious what you guys think. A lot of picks I've seen lately have Love going to the Titans. And I know this isn't our draft show, but I'd be curious if they're willing to pull that trigger. I don't think he's worth it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that too. And that's why, like, the Chiefs went out and got Kenneth Walker. They didn't think Love was going to fall to them at 9, which the only spot he could go to is probably Tennessee at 4. As you just mentioned there, Brad, for the Titans, their biggest additions this offseason have been the coaching staff. They want to get that right first. They got the centerpiece last year in Cam Ward. I think he's going to be good. He's going to be better. But now it's all about development with Cam Ward and Simmons on defense. He was unbelievable last year for them. So he's a stud on defense, and their defense, I think, was actually, better than what everyone anticipated they were going to be. They all thought they were just going to get run over, but I think Simmons held up a lot of that. Their big additions this offseason were the coaching staff, and they're the building blocks for the next couple of years. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how they go. I love the Brian Dable hire, especially for Cam Ward. We see what he did in New York with Jackson Dart. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think their best case scenario for them probably this year is probably 6 wins, potentially 7. But, in their worst case scenario, they're back to 3 wins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nick, what are your thoughts on the beautiful Titans?
I see the angle that they're coming at with Jeremiah Love. Obviously, they want to give him a run game just to help free up what they'll get in the passing game. So I can see that angle. He's obviously a great talent. Obviously, you go through the highlights; they speak for themselves. Many comparisons with a lot of great running backs in the league. The only thing is they've got a lot of holes to fill, and probably, although they don't have a great running game, they've got a lot of spots they need to sort of shore up first. So I mean, I sort of agree that with you guys, obviously the coaching is going to help a lot, so they'll get a bump with that. You'll probably see Cam Ward elevate. I think when coming into the last draft, when we were speaking about it, we sort of identified, Cam Ward was going to be the consensus number 1 pick. It was more so because of how high his floor was, because he's that sort of guy that's going to give you, maybe not sensational sort of performances, but at least to a level where you're going to get something solid. We saw a little bit of that last year, considering, what he had around him. So I think that's probably going to be the best thing, is that if they end up pairing Jeremiah Love with Cam Ward, if they can keep Ward upright and they can build to obviously still protect later in the draft, Cam Ward, and then also get the run game going, that's going to make it a lot easier for him to be able to make those high-level plays that he can produce, and that's what they had drafted him for. So worst case scenario, though, is because of that, they'll probably they could move sort of backwards with it and just remain sort of bottom in this division.
Yeah, I don't know. You've got they're big. They're touting their big signing as Wendell Robinson, and when Wendell Robinson is becoming your savior, I don't think that's a good thing. So I don't know. Ian, are you seeing any?
Definitely, the big need, Brad, is one of the big needs is wide receiver. Because when Calvin Ridley, Wendell Robinson, and Amaya are basically your 3 top wide receivers, then you've got some issues. I also think that they need running back. I think they need O-line because it's not great. There's a couple of Schlotman and Skronsky aren't too bad. I think they'll get better. JC Latham obviously is, I don't know, possibly the best pickers on that line. So they definitely need depth and they need more skill. And yeah, I don't know. What's your philosophy? Is your philosophy to build a young team and try and push forward under a new coaching regime? Because if that's the way, then you set up pretty well with 7 picks in the draft and a lot of high sort of placed picks as well. So you can pick should be able to, in theory, pick some really good skill players out of this draft, and then build on that even towards next one. Maybe go 3-4 year plan and try and achieve something down there. But yeah, there's a lot of holes to fill, and you would expect that considering they were the worst team in the league last year as well.
Yeah, I hope that the ownership is patient and they give Salah a leash, and he was robbed in New York, and I just hope that he can kind of redeem himself here and turn things around, because he is a good coach, and I like Cam Ward. They just have so many holes they got to fill. It's ridiculous. Yeah, best case, I think they're going 8-9. Best case. Like, that would be stratospheric. But I think the reality is you're probably going to get in that 6-win range.
Yeah, I'd say best case for me would be that the this defense, who showed that they have a fair bit of toughness about them, plays really well under Salah, and is able to hold that team up again, and maybe get a little bit higher up the board, and achieve some more and have some success, which success breeds success. So obviously it'll help the team moving forward, especially a bunch of young guys. Anyone else on the Titans? Brad, I can tell you the answer to our question about the 3 stars is that it comes from the Tennessee flag, and it represents the 3 grand divisions of Tennessee: East, Middle, and West.
Oh my gosh.
It represents the mountainous East, the central basin of Middle Tennessee, and the coastal plain of West Tennessee.
Yeah. Go Volunteers. They're the volunteer state.
All right, the 8-9 Indianapolis Colts, who started the season off in a stellar way. I think we all thought that they were going to be massive in the playoffs last season, and then all of a sudden the absolute arse fell out of that team when they lost their quarterback. Daniel Jones had a massive resurgence, enough that they gave him a new high-value contract, and even though he is coming off a sort of reasonably serious leg injury, they've given him a new contract and have basically said that they are moving forward with him. Sent out Richardson into the wilderness. Said, somebody else, take this child. He is not mine anymore. And yeah, have sort of decided to sort of move forward in that way, try and roll that dice again and see if they can find that early season form once again. Nick, I'll go to you, because Brad has we've discovered has some very large feelings about Indianapolis Colts. So, Nick, how do you think the Colts break down from 25 and where they're sort of going or heading for 26?
I'll tell you what, it's quite it's quite literally how you sort of put it earlier on. It's quite polarizing, really. They came out of the gates, no one could beat them. They had this statistically generational offense. Jonathan Taylor was going to win MVP, and then you're right, it just flipped totally on its head. So the trap that they've got now is that now obviously, it's easy to play the game of hindsight considering what's happened. They were hell bent on, Daniel Jones being competent enough and at the time healthy enough to be able to take them to win that division and make the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't happen. Then they went out and got 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner as well. So they gave up a lot to be able to get Sauce Gardner. And once that sort of happened, I think we all sort of knew in the back of our mind that they're probably going to be committing to Daniel Jones longer term, or they're at least going to be giving him a good pay, which they have, even though it is over 2 years. I just wonder what they're going to get this season now. We've seen the Jags move past them. You know, the Texans, I would still probably argue, are a better team just because their defense is so good. Even though you don't know what you're going to get with their offense. We'll talk about them shortly. But they're in sort of a weird spot now. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's still there. Their O-line is still really good. In terms of how much they had sort of invested, you know, they brought back Alex Pierce. They gave him a lot of money.
Yeah, they did.
For a lot of money considering. So they really got to go to the draft. They need to sort of figure out what they've got on defense. They need to bolster that up immensely. That was definitely the weakness for that team, but there is potential. As we saw towards the first half of last year, there is potential. I'm not sitting here and saying that they're going to go all the way and, you know, win a Super Bowl, but is the AFC South alive for them? Absolutely. If they can show that they can come out and be the absolute standout team, even if it was for 2 months, the first 2 months, then it's at least noteworthy. And, you know, in the end, you know, they went to Phillip Rivers and then they went to Riley Leonard in the end.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, Daniel Jones comes back. It's a bit tricky because it's such a horrible injury. But there is potential, but they just need to shore up. I think what's going to make life easier for them, like I said, they've got to bolster up their defense. They do need also another sort of receiver in the draft as well. There's plenty of those always in the draft, but definitely something they've got to look at as well.
Yeah, to me, the big question mark I have for him is that wide receiver room. Because I don't think Alec Pierce had a phenomenal year, but I don't think, I mean, he barely got over 1,000 yards. Is he really a number one? And trading away Pittman, I mean, I understand you needed draft picks, but all they did was really, I think, like just get a sixth for him and gave up a seventh. So it was more just a tokenistic thing because I think they knew he was gonna leave or be a distraction. But I worry about that wide receiver room, and then with Daniel Jones, you know, you don't come back from an Achilles right away. Dak came back and he looked rusty for a little bit. So, and you know, no, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is anywhere close to Dak, but he is more athletic and he relies on his athleticism quite a bit. So to not have that, to be limited by the Achilles injury, I think is going to impact that team more than what you think. Because he ran a lot. He did a lot of QB runs. And I don't think that's going to be on the table.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines as Brad, but not just the wide receiver room I'm worried about. So I'm just looking at the depth chart now and their major positions on offense. So your second in line QB is Anthony Richardson. So let's get that one out of the way. But if Jonathan Taylor goes down, you got DJ Giddens coming in. Like he's not going to do anything for you. And your wide receiver 3 is Nick Westbrook in Keenan. Like he couldn't even get a run in Miami. So
yeah,
their lack of depth, and again, Tyler Warren is your tight end 1, and then you got Mo Alley Cox as your tight end 2.
Yeah.
So like the actual depth on offense sitting behind everyone, they're one injury away from going probably 3-14 like the Titans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the depth is where I'm worried about. That I don't mind their ones, but their twos is really, and the issue with that is you've got no first round draft picks. You can't spend any capital on getting someone in and trying to develop them. So you've got to wait until the second round. And I am really worried about the Colts this year. And as you guys mentioned, the Daniel Jones injury, you don't know what he's going to come back like.
Yeah, for sure. I did like the keeping Alec Pierce move as well. That was a good thing to really sort of put out money for Alec Pierce. But you're very right.
Well, they had to pay him. I mean, they were if they'd let him walk, they would have been screwed.
Well, Pittman's gone because they let Pittman go, so they sort of had to pay one of them, and then to keep Pierce and Downs, Josh Downs is a great thing, and then sign Westbrook Akina is he's good as a wide receiver 3 or 4, but you're very right, Isaac. the depth is very, very concerning because your starters are outstanding, and then your backups are your backups are thirds and fourths. So they don't work together. You really need to find some kind of depth and some kind of growth. No first round pick. They've got picks in every other round, 2 in the 7th. And you really need to find a way to improve that 8-9 record, which, just to keep that ledger from what we spoke about earlier, remind everybody, they were 8-2 before the Daniel Jones injury, and they ended at 8-9.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, exactly. They were on a roll. They looked unstoppable, just like what Nick said at the top, and just everything fell apart for them.
The really funny part was...
There's a red-hot chance that...
Yeah. I was going to say, the really funny part is that their defense was doing really well up until that point. And yes, the offense was keeping them in it and winning the games, but the defense was doing enough. And then from that point onwards, it's like everybody went home. Yeah, so it's
did lose
a
few guys on the back end
sorry,
as
go
well.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's why they brought in their cornerbacks got decimated, and I think that's part of the reason why they brought in Stroud. But not Stroud, but Gardner Sauce. But even with him, they're still. If you're gonna give them a letter grade, I'd probably say they're like a B minus. That secondary.
I reckon maybe a hot take of mine will be that Shane Steichen might be the first coach gone. The way they ended last season, and if they start the season the way they ended it, there's a good chance that he's not going to survive.
Yeah.
Big call.
Yes, I can see that.
Because he's into year 3, I think, in Indianapolis. Like, that's not a... You need to start showing some improvement by then, and they haven't really.
And it was...
You have to show things like losing a quarterback shouldn't send you down the drain. Yeah. That you can start 8-2, and you should at least be able to make postseason.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
8
wins in the first 10 games. By that point, any team should be able to make postseason. But to go seven losses on the trot, that's bad.
This will be an opportunity for the what's her name, the owner, Ursay's daughter, to kind of put
the trio.
Yeah. But there's the main one that runs the football, to put her stamp on it. So it wouldn't surprise me if Isaac is exactly right, that he is one of the first ones to fall.
So what's the pass mark then? What's the actual pass mark? So to comfortably say, Shane Steichen should be staying, what is that pass mark? Is that at least a wild card spot? Because that's 10 wins.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it's exactly a wild card spot. I think if they finish 8-9 again, or if they get the 10 wins and they don't make the postseason, I think they're happy with that. But if they come out and lose the first 4, he's on real shaky ground by week 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they're 4 games back when they're 6 games into it, yeah, I could see
all that hinges on Daniel Jones being healthy too at the start of the season.
Oh,
so that's the other part. So,
but like we just said before, all of it's hinging on all their starters being healthy.
Yeah,
their backups are 3 and 4s.
It is, but I think what we're getting at is it's about coaching. The coaching wise, you have to do a better job, because 7 losses to end the season, that's coaching to me.
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you, Colts. We can't get enough of the Colts.
We have. We've spent a lot of time.
I think we've had enough.
We haven't had enough. Let's move on to the 12-5. Yes, Houston Texans from last year, who went on a 9-game winning streak to put themselves into the postseason. One of the most dominant winning streaks we've seen too. That defense was phenomenal down the stretch towards the end. Ended up getting a resounding 30-6 win over the Steelers in the wild card round to obliterate them, and then went down kind of narrowly, I guess, 28-16 to the Patriots. It was a weird loss where the Texans weren't really playing their normal game against the Patriots, and that's kind of what let them down. Did have quite a lot of injuries early on, struggled to find their feet in quite a lot of games, especially against some opposition that wasn't, I guess, right up there. But their losses through the entire season, their only losses through the season were against, or the big ones, were against the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Broncos.
Jeez.
All top teams at the end of the season in the NFL.
Yep.
Brad, the Houston Texans. How are you seeing the breakdown of Houston Texans coming out of 2025?
That defense is Super Bowl worthy. They really are. They are an amazing defense. I would stack them up with anybody. It's the offense, and they've tried to address it. I mean, their running game was abysmal, so they bring in David Montgomery, which I'm personally am a Montgomery fan. I know a lot of people are kind of mediocre on him, but I like him. He can move the chains. He gives them a veteran presence, all that. They still have Woody Marks, who's okay as a complimentary back. So I think they've improved that. It's the O-line, though, that has to get better. I mean, people want to bag on C.J. Stroud a little bit, but the reality is their O-line was 30th in pass block and 32nd in run block. So you're not going to do anything until you improve that. And that was kind of the narrative going into last season when they traded away Tunsil, and it really didn't get a lot better after that. So they got Wyatt Teller, Braden Smith, Evan Brown. Those three are new guys, so they're planning on them all being contributors. But they still have a long way to go with that O-line, and that to me is that key. How good that O-line is how far they're going to go. I just Stroud, I think they're still trying to build around his rookie contract and make the most of it. But he's still at a little bit of a prove it, I think, just because he's regressed. And he started to solidify, but how much of it is the line? How much of it is him just not developing into the quarterback that they want him to be? But that, no matter what, that defense is going to give him at least 9-10 wins.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Brad. And the part I really don't agree with is they're going to be taken by the offensive line. They're going to be taken how far they can go by that defense. So the offensive line, their offense was pushing shit uphill last year.
Yeah,
like their win streak started because Davis Mills come in and had a 3-game winning streak, and then CJ Stroud come back and took over the offense that was already humming.
Yeah,
well, not humming. It was getting better, but he didn't really target Nico Collins last year when he was in the game. I think they need to scheme up something there to get Nico Collins open. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and that will help their offense. The David Montgomery addition, I think he's a bit on the older side. He can ram it down their throats, but in Detroit he had Jameer Gibbs backing him up that was there with the speed on and to do like the lighter work there. I don't think Woody Marks is around that level. So I still think they're going to be struggling, and I'm interested to see what they're like with Tank Dell comes back. I think he should be ready for the start of the season. So we'll see how that goes. But Stroud, I'm still not sold on CJ Stroud.
There was a school of thought that lately that people are sort of throwing out there around all the draft stuff that maybe the Texans should have considered maybe trying to trade CJ Stroud and just run it back with with Davis Mills, just because of how well I guess they did with Davis Mills, and the fact that they might be able to get something for CJ Stroud. I don't subscribe to it because so much. I can see why people were saying it, but because I just don't think you move on from the guy that quickly. He hasn't been that bad. There was regression in the second year, but it's not terrible.
I think a lot of it had come down to going into his second year. And I think this is more so a mental aspect because you can see it now, particularly in the last two playoff games that he did play, where I think he came up against a really great defense in his first playoff game, his first ever playoff game against Cleveland, albeit in Houston, and he played really well, played the lights out, was incredible. The following week they went to Baltimore, they got smashed. It was his first year. Then last year, although he sort of regressed in the regular season, his postseason was pretty good. So like he had two pretty solid games. And I think that sort of fed into, it seemed like maybe arrogance isn't, well, it's probably the right word, because then it sort of looked like he came into this season and he didn't get helped with sort of bad GM moves with trading away Laramie Tunsil and then not replacing him. They've also had a bit of a carousel at offensive coordinator, so they haven't got that right either. They've brought across someone that was previously, that was under Sean McVay, so we'll see what they get from that. Hopefully it will sort of help them on that end, but it sort of looked like he went from this guy that had a lot of confidence, was calm in the pocket, was able to read the defense really well, and then it just all disappeared in the playoffs. And the link between him being that confident player and coming out and having a really good first playoff game to what this is now is staggering, because I don't understand how someone can be solid in the playoffs and then, it just all falls out from underneath them. And like Isaac said, I 100% agree. If this defense was even the 10th best defense, which is top third, they're probably got a losing record. Well, let's be honest, they probably would have a losing record if this defense were worse. And I think this team is currently treading water only because D'Amico has gotten the absolute best out of this defense, and this defense has continued to climb each and every year they've been under him. And the offense has literally gone the other way, so it's inversed each other. The Monty move is nice. That adds a bit of a run game for them. Tank Dell comes back. What can he do? I wouldn't be surprised if they look at maybe trying to get someone else across Nico Collins. But O-line, they've got to hammer it. They need to spend at least 3 picks on their O-line this draft. They have to. If they can get that right, they are definitely a Super Bowl caliber team. Because then I think the flow on with that is if they can get that right, they'll have a bit more of a run game. And if CJ Stroud can't make it work, but then that's your instant. That's the instant way of knowing, okay, he's not the one for us, and they've got to make it. They need a backup plan. They need to move on from him and maybe choose someone else.
I like it.
There we go. So, anyone else? Cool. Moving on then. I like it a lot. Well done, Nick. Well wrapped up, Nick. Like a neat little package.
I was going to say, no, I like the Texans. I was bullish on them, and, I just don't know. I mean, we do know now how they sort of fell out, but, yeah, it's disappointing, really, with such a great defense.
All right, well, then let's move on to the 13-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. Winners of the AFC South. They took the title this year. Had a reasonably, under the radar run is about the only way. We didn't talk a lot about the Jags all season, I feel. Does it feel like that, Brad?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. They just kind of, were that kind of just plodding along, and then all of a sudden, wow, they're top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense. So
did you know, Brad, that the Jags had an 8-game winning streak to go into the postseason?
Yeah, I did notice that.
This is where I was like, it was like very under the radar season for me for the Jags. Like they just did, they just succeeded. Even the losses we didn't talk about them. The big wins we didn't really talk about them. we just didn't talk about the Jags that much, and here we are now, AFC South champions. I don't know, there's not a lot to be said for that, but they are the champions. And
hey, they finished 13-4.
They finished 13-4. Almost got the win over the Buffalo Bills in the wildcard round. 27-24 loss to the Bills that we all saw was an absolute heartbreaker for the Jags fans. And everyone's screaming at their television sets saying the Bills should be doing better than this. But Isaac, it sort of just seems that's how everything went. And they're bringing back OCs, DCs. They're bringing back a lot of players. I don't know. Is it just going to be same for the Jags going forward?
I'm not too sure. I think we should just pump the brakes on the 7-game winning streak into the postseason. Their only notable wins in that 7-game run was Denver and the LA Chargers. The rest were Arizona, Tennessee twice, Indianapolis twice, and the Jets.
I didn't say it was good. I just said it was a winning streak.
But I was surprised by the stats you just read out about the offense, because it felt like all season the offense just really wasn't clicking. There was a lot of Brian Thomas Jr. isn't catching the ball. So it was, I was surprised by the stats you read out that they were top 10. Did you say in offense?
They were top 10 offense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. And I'm just wondering this next season how big of a loss Travis Etienne is going to be. So you get Bayshell Tootin come in as now your RB1. He was good for you last year, but is he ready to take that next step into an RB1 instead of staying an RB2? I love the trade for Jacoby Myers. I think he's a really good receiver. But it all comes down to Brian Thomas Jr. now for me to unlock that offense and be like he was in his rookie season. And if he can do that, then Jacksonville will be close to the top again, I believe, because I'm a fan of Trevor Lawrence. I really like him as a player, and what Liam Cohen did there was really good. And I like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What concerns me is all the losses that they have, that you mentioned. So they're losing ETN, and they just say, okay, we're going to kind of go, we like the room. And whenever a team says, oh, we like the room, I think that's code for we're just praying that this works out. So the Cowboys used to always say that about their running backs, and that didn't really work. So, but not only that, but they lose on defense. I felt like Devin Lloyd goes to Carolina, and he was a backbone of that team. Greg Newsome is out. He goes to the Giants. Andrew Weingard goes to Arizona. So they're losing people at all three levels. And their solution to me is just, we've got young guys, and they're going to replace them with depth and that type of thing. Depth's great, but depth doesn't pay the rent. So, that's my biggest concern, is that if these guys don't develop, then you're going to see a regression from this group. Because they exceeded expectations last season, and I think by most people's opinion, but you really saw Trevor Lawrence take that step up. And is he going to be able to do that again? Is Cohen going to be able to give him enough pieces where he can take even another step, because that's what they need from him in order to really truly contend? Trevor has to take even another small step forward.
Another thing to note as well is that particularly with what you guys had mentioned on the defensive side, where they sort of had they were playing well and then they sort of struggled for a bit. They also didn't have Travis Hunter the last part of the season as well. So they've had those guys go out, but he will come back in, obviously, start of next season. So another year under his belt. So we'll see what happens with that. With Jacoby Myers coming in, I think that's probably better for Travis as well, because he can focus on playing on the better side of the side of the ball that he's more talented at, for sure, at corner. So yes. He becomes a core piece of that defense now. They're in a spot where they've got some guys that they've got some they don't really have massive holes across most of their team. If Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't have another good season like his rookie season, then obviously they do need another receiver. But definitely that idea that they were floating and putting in trade talks and everything was definitely don't do that, because you're selling way too early on a guy with a lot of potential there. So far they haven't traded him. I wouldn't trade him, even if someone comes, unless someone comes with like a Godfather offer or something. But I wouldn't be trading him at all, because he's got a lot of potential. And now that Trevor's sort of really come into his own with Liam Cohen there, and had a great season, it could be a really good pairing. Yeah, I think with this team though, they could draft at a lot of spots. I know you did mention Brad drafting with depth. It's they're saying about drafting with depth and everything, but if you don't have a lot of holes on your team, I suppose it's that inverse of what Isaac said, where with the Colts, he's worried about sort of if certain guys go down, what happens then? Well, if you're drafting with that depth, then you're creating that competition, you're creating that better atmosphere. They did win the division. They came very close to beating Buffalo. So it is small steps. They went from, pretty much from, not winning many games at all, to winning the division, hosting a playoff game. So I think they're in a
Just
solid
on that,
spot.
Nick,
If they can draft well, yeah.
They don't have a pick until 56.
Second round.
So
Second
they've
round,
got
yeah.
no first. They've got no first round pick as well. So
Yeah.
Second round pick,
was,
3 third
was
round
obviously
picks, which is
to get
the Travis Hunter
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
So there'll definitely be some great opportunities on day 2. Obviously like you guys said, that first rounders with Cleveland, obviously with that Travis Hunter deal when they moved up. I think they're in a good spot. Like, best case scenario for them is they start taking those next few steps. If they can get to at least a divisional round now, or even the Final Four. Speaking of March Madness, Final Four conference championship game. They're in a good spot. I think that the only thing that would deter them is if for some reason Trevor Lawrence goes backwards. I don't really see him having a massive fall off, considering Cohen's come in, he's put in this system, and Trevor's probably been the biggest beneficiary from it. So I think they're in a good spot. They can draft in a number of different places on day 2. So I wouldn't be too upset if I was a Jags fan going into next year. I think they've got a bit of promise. They've lost a few guys, but I think they're still in a solid spot.
absolutely. Well, anyone else want to finish with some best case, worst case for the Jags? They are the top team in the South. What do you reckon, Brad?
I think best case is they get to the championship game, the AFC Championship, and they're contenders. You never know. If you get there, that's best case. Worst case is they'll miss out on the playoffs. Be second in their division.
Yeah, I think I agree with Brad on the best case. Worst case is Houston do well, Indianapolis do well, and Tennessee are better. They're in a really tough division. So all their division games are going to be tight. And if they split them all, then you've only got 4 wins out of potentially 6 there, which drag you down into a wild card or potentially missing the playoff.
Yeah, and you can imagine it's going to be a tough season because they're going to be up against the ones from the other divisions they're playing this year as well.
Yep.
So it's that's going to be tough for them, both AFC and NFC. Righto. That's the AFC South. Anyone else got anything to add more on the AFC South before we wrap that up? No? Good? Excellent. No. Then you can check us out at G'day Gridiron everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you like, YouTube, and you'll find all of the links for the Aussie Gridiron Network at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Don't forget the merch store. Sale is over, but there have been some random sales that come up on that merch store every now and then. So make sure you go and check it out and have a look at some fun designs. If you want to suggest a fun design, shoot us that as well. I want to try and get some new ones up for 2026. So we'll be talking about that as well. Make sure you are subscribed to everything because it is under a month until till the NFL draft and around 20 odd days until we do the 2026 Draftapalooza episode, our biggest episode of the year. And we really want you to not miss out on anything. So like, subscribe, follow everywhere at G'day Gridiron till later on when we do the AFC East. See you later.